All right. Well, are you looking to build your e-commerce business and take it to new levels? Are you looking to connect with other people? Well, good news is my guest today has done all that. He's built a phenomenal e-commerce business, focusing on Amazon, as well as he's helped a lot of people along the way with the largest meetup group in the world that focuses on selling on Amazon. So I'm super excited to have with me today, Carlos Alvarez. Carlos, thank you for being on Maximizing E-commerce.
What's up, man? I'm glad to be here finally.
I know. We had chatted before because I was at your meetup group back in June of 2019. We're recording this in July. This will probably go live in August. And during that time, we talked about, coming on the show. So we went back and forth with schedule. So now you're here, and this is super exciting to have this conversation. So just for anyone listening, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into e-commerce, and kind of your philosophies and where everything's going for you.
Yeah, I got into e-commerce a little bit accidentally. I've always been a serial entrepreneur trying to get something going, and I was holding down a few jobs, delivering subs, going to union school for AC Tech, selling cigars on the side, plus starting what was then an eBay business. So we're talking about almost 15 years ago. And I had this expensive ex-girlfriend, no names, and I was always trying to get stuff for her and do all that. And I decided I needed some extra money, so I started selling a few things around the house on eBay. And I got completely hooked on the process of just some person, a faceless person I've never met, buy something, positive review, money exchange hands, and I was just hooked. Fast forward, I start getting a hold of everything I can, garage sales, anything, and listing it on eBay, doing what Chris Green has popularized as arbitrage in the beginning. Not much in the way of help back then, so I made a lot of mistakes. I went through the whole suspension things in the beginning, no lawyers then, and very little in the way of podcasts either, except Scott. Scott was actually one of the resources way back when to tap into for help. But
Scott Volker, the amazing seller.
Yeah. Since the beginning is like the godfather there. But even on eBay, I mean, he was great on eBay. But so at that point I started scaling. I discovered Alibaba, and I thought I was the only one that knew it. And I started getting into this little adult novelty toy thing that you can get for a few cents, and you could flip it for a large amount. And I quickly started running out of capital. So my friends and family saw that I was going in the right direction. They invested a bunch of money in me, and I go to my same supplier in Alibaba, mind you, completely ignorant of how things worked back then. And I told him it was $81,000 that they invested in me. I said, I want to buy $81,000 of these things. Mind you, it would have been about 10 40-foot containers. So I didn't, and I was working out of a room in my house, so I didn't think anything through storage, anything.
Right.
Fortunately or unfortunately, the supplier said that they did not have that kind of stuff in stock, and it made sense now. But back then, I was like, oh, you're not taking me serious. You're a factory, and you don't have warehouses upon warehouses of stock that you're just sitting on. So I'm going to find someone more serious, and I go along Alibaba. I found someone. I'll say the name only because I know now that it's an alias. But it went by the name of Usman Cisse, and he had everything I wanted in stock. I sent him the money, and he stole everything from me. It didn't exist. He said he had a factory in Hong Kong. There's no factories in Hong Kong. A simple Google search would have exposed everything.
Oh, no.
So here I am. It wasn't, again, I was accustomed to being broke at the time. So the loss of money was not a big hit on my lifestyle. But the loss of people now looking at me as, Mr. Successful, growing a business, entrepreneur, that was a hard hit. That was a panic moment. So I started selling the little things I had to get some seed capital and start again without anyone knowing. Two of the things I went to go sell were two of my snakes. I was into reptiles.
Okay.
And I go to this reptile store to sell them. Person in front of me was paying $25 for 50 live insects. And I was so desperate, I figured I'd dig. I've always been a hard worker. Where do these things reside? I'm going to dig, and I'm going to sell them. You wanted
to sell the insects.
Anything, yeah, because it didn't require capital. You dig them, you find them, you sell them, right? So I, phone in hand, weird stare, just lost. I'm walking back to my car. There's a public library. I go in. I found an article by a zoologist saying, basically it talked about breeding insects and how zoos could save a lot of money by feeding their reptiles by breeding them instead of paying top dollar in the private market. Fast forward, I know you see where this is going. I started breeding insects in my house. I got into the millions of insects, selling about a pack of 1,000. I was probably selling 30 or 40 units a day on Amazon. Obviously, merchant fulfilled.
Right.
Yeah,
They
obviously,
don't want
merchant.
that in the warehouse.
Right. It's deafening. But back then, even FBA, it was a thing. It existed, but no one really thought it was. No one thought it was going to be what it is today.
Right.
And it was like, what do you mean I'm going to pay you to send something to FBA and then you're going to charge me again to ship it? Like, that's ridiculous. But look what happened. Anyhow, code enforcement comes to my house. They right. They tell me I got to get everything out. Like, what's going on? I bluff them and I say, look, I'll throw it out. But if I dump all this stuff out here, I think it's going to be an agricultural disaster. They bite. They give me until the next day. I get it into a friend's warehouse who lets me use half the space rent free for a couple months. Fast forward another year, and I get approached by a company who purchases my insect company for $2.6 million.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, single, I blew a bunch of money. I was living a little bit. I decided I didn't want to go broke. And since then, I've created and sold many brands. Currently, I have 4 brands, a 5th one, but that's in limbo right now with some business partner issues. But I have 5 brands. And yeah, this is what I do on the physical product side. That's my start. That's my in a nutshell start. I try to do it fast.
Wow, that's awesome. That's quite the story. So you were looking for some opportunity, and it was almost like it just kind of like hit you in the face, so to speak.
Yeah.
When you found that you could sell insects. And you ended up selling the company, and you're still doing e-commerce now. So,
Of course.
yeah. So what is it that you're finding works and what doesn't work? Because one of the things is, since you have this meetup group, you get to hear like from people face to face, and you can tell very quickly if they're telling you the truth or if they're giving you a runaround, as opposed to like if you're in like Facebook group or whatever. So what's that? What's working and what's not working?
I mean, taking a step back, like the creation of the meetup group itself.
Okay.
As an e-commerce seller, I partnered up with six different people, and we used to meet on the weekends, and at a Starbucks or something, and we'd all talk about what was working, what wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And every year there's a new flavor of a loophole or hack that you just must do, or you're not
right.
So we went through all of those. We experimented with some black hat stuff in the back before we knew what it was, and then our businesses kind of got to a size where this was a real business. We're talking about back then. We quickly got to 8 figures, and it was, you can't, if you're making a few $100s a week, get crazy, explore everything you want. But at a certain point with this kind of revenue, you have to balance it out. So the risk reward wasn't there. We didn't want to take the risk. We got tired of telling the same stories to each other. In short, that's what happened. And
okay.
I've used meetup groups to launch physical products successfully several times in the past. So I was like, look, I'm familiar with Meetup. Why don't we start a meetup group and start getting some local people together, and getting some fresh insight on what's going on. So I wind up starting it. I do it at a local Starbucks again. None of my other friends showed up because they figured they'd be talking about what is FBA, why Amazon moved past books, and really basic stuff. So I was there. 4 people showed up, and they were super excited. We went from a monthly meetup to a weekly meetup, and now 10 meetups a month in English and 4 in Spanish, so 14 meetups a month. And the group, as you said earlier, has grown into the largest Amazon seller meetup group in the world. We have so many different sessions and so many different levels, whether it's arbitrage, wholesale, private label, that I do, like you said, I get to see what everyone's doing, and I get to hear every excuse imaginable on why they're not succeeding or hitting certain numbers. I really think that the biggest problem most people have, especially on the starting side, is they're just going to these Facebook groups and they're hearing someone throw out gross numbers, and they kind of set the bar where that's where they need to be or they're not successful. That by far is the biggest one. Not knowing everything that it takes to get there. They're working a full-time job and they want to do it, but the person they're comparing themselves to, they work 90 hours a week. This is all they do. So they don't compare apples to apples. What's working a lot for my group, and I'd like to take some of the credit for it because I think I'm the lone ranger here pushing this, is I'm not a fan of heavy discounts. I'm not a fan of, I love having talks and discussions about black hat tactics, but I'm 100% white hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I love starting businesses based on that. I love knowing that 3 years from now, the tactics that I'm investing in and the infrastructure I'm investing in, it's going to pay off. I'm a huge, huge proponent of brands, not going a mile wide, inch deep, instead maybe an inch wide and a mile deep. That is what's working for me and for a lot of people in the group that have adopted it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is having a long-term mentality. Is that, too often, people get, like, to your point, they're looking at someone's, chapter way down the road, and they might be looking at, like, Mike Jackness, for example, just sold his business Color It for 7-figure exit. And it's like, well, I've been doing this for a year now and I'm not ready for a 7-figure exit. Well, give yourself time. Understand Mike Jackness didn't just start last year either. So, we're all at different stages of it. And so I definitely agree with you that mindset is a huge thing, and thinking more in terms of, like, what are the white hat tactics that will be more fundamental and will be around next year, and not, if you have to think, like, okay, if I would be uncomfortable talking about what I'm doing to one of Jeff Bezos's executives, or if Amazon decides to pull a different report and just change their filters of how they're reporting stuff, am I going to get suspended? So, it's that long-term mentality. So what are some of those brand building things that are working?
I'm a huge fan of I'm a huge fan of, when you zig, I zag. So
Okay.
here's some examples. Right now, everyone, let's take a step back. Previously, 4 years ago, what was popular, what was working, and it was like, if you were into private label, this is what you did. And it was 100% off discount codes, promo codes, when it existed. Everyone was doing that. I wasn't. What I was doing to get my people is I was getting like a piece of paper sized flyer made, and I was sticking them up for free in all the local Starbucks community message boards, the Panera Breads, all that stuff. And it said stuff like, you into coffee, want to be a brand ambassador of a growing brand of coffee, join our Meetup group. Text the word, coffee to 69922. It was all different hook points, QR codes, everything, phone numbers for people to start joining a list. And we would meet, we would have Facebook groups, but you'd be surprised. I was getting, once we canvassed the Miami area for free on these flyers, we were getting a few hundred people a day entering this list for free. And these were locals that we could really connect to. I never needed to do 100% off coupon codes. Have I ever done them before? Yes. I know why they work, but as soon as they stopped, I wasn't left, holding the bag. I still had a massive list. I had a brand. I had people. So that's one example of how I did it. What was the other one I was going to say? The most recent one, I'm drawing a blank here.
So something you did to get people and to probably get rid of.
I create meetup groups about my brand. I created and sold a successful scuba gear brand. And I literally just created a meetup group. Cost me $165 a year. And I connected with a scuba shop and a scuba dive instructor. And I told them, hey, give free scuba lessons in all these classes. Now, I was paying them a good deal.
Okay.
People were joining the meetup group thinking, you don't get free scuba lessons. That's not something that happens. So it was an extreme upfront amount of value. Now, how many people do you think, after they got awesome training, free certification, complimentary drinks sometimes on these things, connected with other divers, how many people do you think were open with buying my flippers or my mask for free? I mean, at full price, and leaving a review? Of course they were. You had provided so much value. So I've seen other people giving away thousands of units and spending just crazy amounts of money that fly in the face of what you're trying to do as a business.
Right.
And I used a Meetup group for some of my coffee brands. I would set up a local tent, $250 in a farmer's market. And I'd have every manner of coffee imaginable there. I'd give out free coffee. Total cost at the end of the day, about an extra $150. The list that I grew, getting people to join, connect and buy right off the phone in front of me as they're sipping coffee was crazy good.
Right.
So those types of things I do. If I needed more reviewers, I'd get one of my virtual assistants and we'd go to something like, you want to find great reviewers? Go to Groupon and Yelp. Search for your product, search for your service, and then find all the stores that do it, and then look at all the reviewers that are there. Their name is hyperlinked. You can contact them.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? You can contact them. Is it tedious? Is it very time consuming? You bet. It is. But that's why I got a VA to do it. Thank God for VAs and having an awesome team. But that was back then also when I was a little ignorant of like what virtual assistants are and all this stuff. But I mean, since then I've my VAs, it's turned into an ugly word, but VAs for me, they're like my family. They're like my family. But you can get all the reviews. Anybody can get all the reviews they want off Angie's List, Groupon, and Yelp. You want reviewers? Go there.
And there's a saying, buyers are buyers. And that I'm sure the same thing. Reviewers are reviewers. People that leave reviews and good reviews, they just like having their opinion out there. So yeah, to your point, like if they're going to leave a review on Angie's List or
they'll leave
whatever else, Yelp or something.
And you get to really like filter them. You can say the one that says great product, love it. I don't want that guy. Or girl, I don't want that. That's not going to help me convert a sale. Why don't I get the person that wrote 4 paragraphs on a coffee filter? Like that's the person I want. Like that person's going to convert other people that are reading their review into a sale. Things like that. And I could go on and on and on those kind of things that, tactics wise that I did and do.
Well, that makes sense because it's not even so much about like the volume of reviews. It's more about the quality of the review and finding the right type of reviewers. And it's to your point, everyone's zigging, you zag, because at the end of the day, people are just looking for, when they're looking through reviews, they want to know, does this help me make the decision to buy the product?
Yes. So something on the upper third of the page, they searched, they clicked on the product, they got there, and something has them on the fence. After the thumbnails, potential video, bullets, everything on not buying. Something has not been answered. A lot of people don't check those questions out, those frequently asked questions. The next thing they do is they look at the reviews.
Right.
And if you have people answering those things, user-generated content.
Right.
Then that's golden.
Oh yeah, totally. That's interesting. That's interesting. And to your point, you're not doing anything black hat. You're not sending Amazon customers off of Amazon or anything like that. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. So, what do you do other than like meetup groups and get things like this? But how would you launch a product? Can you kind of walk us through if you were to launch a new product today? What would you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things that I definitely do differently, and it's something that a lot of people are not a fan of. I like to say somebody gets off a webinar and they're super motivated. They have a couple $1,000s available on a credit card. They tell their partner or not, and they're gung-ho, and they buy something on AliExpress that they can get over really fast. That's not my method. I get into things that I'm passionate about, or I think Mike Jackness actually said this word for word initially, was that you get into something you're passionate about or would like to be passionate about. That's not to say that you just can't use a tool like Helium 10, Viral Launch, Jungle Scout, and go mercenary with it, is how I like to call it, and be profitable. I know plenty of people that are doing that. It's just not my thing, and I get to choose how I want to use my time,
Right.
So I find, and it's easier for me to build a brand personally when I can be a little passionate about it, when I can talk intelligently about it because I use the product, I use all of this. It becomes easier to create informational products to support. So my process of doing this takes months. Taking a page from Pat Flynn, who was recently announced to go to Brand Accelerator Live.
Yes.
His book, Will It Fly? Will It Fly is something that was like a validation point for me. And that was, I'm not buying any products. Like for me, my method, my strong suit is I do really, really well with email marketing. And if if I'm going to use that, then I want to validate that I got what it takes and I understand the industry enough to build successful lead magnets, create successful funnels, and do all that in this industry. So I will begin selling products that are not mine, that are in that industry. I'll begin creating contests, trivia, polls to see if my targeting is right on social media. I'll do all these things first while building a list, finding out what my people want. You know, I set up a lot of automation that targets open rates. If somebody just opens everything, opens it quick, clicks on all the links, follows me everywhere, you know what? I think this person will buy my product.
Right.
So, you know, I score them off every action they take. And when they hit a certain score, they'll automatically receive a certain automation. Like, look, I've identified you as, you know, a brand ambassador, someone that's super supportive of what I got going on. I'd love to speak to you more. At that point, yeah, we'll talk on a messenger bot or text or a phone call about what's going on and how I'd like to have them involved in, you know, an early launch of my product, if you will. And then, so I do all of that first. Once I see that I validated it and it works, then I roll with it. Then I start placing the order. Other things that I do, obviously, a lot of people don't realize when you sell something on Amazon, you're selling keywords, you're not selling a product. So at that point, when you're looking at it on Amazon, I'm doing extensive keyword research during this time as well, determining, like, you know, the budget I have to start this product. Is it in line on the ad side with what it's going to take to spend on ads with who's the top players there right now on the keywords that I want? If that's in line, I do it. If it's not in line, but I want to be in the industry, then I pick something that's a little more of a lower hanging fruit that I can then pivot with later on into this product that I want. I'm really big on running contests. Tools that I like are WooBox, King Sumo, and Viral Loops. I'm really big on email marketing. My tool of choice there is ActiveCampaign. I'm really big on what else involving the launch. Taking advantage of all the tools that Amazon has. I've had the blessing to be reached out. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes, but I had the blessing to be reached out by Amazon years back on Vendor Central. And since then, I've had several Vendor Central accounts, and mine are still intact. But I take advantage of the frustration-free packaging program. I pay the money for the Vine reviewers, you know, Amazon's Vine reviewer program, not the early reviewer program. I pay that money and I get them. I take advantage of Amazon promotions, which is a pretty powerful tool in and of itself. You know, not the promotions, the giveaway promotions that they have within Amazon, which is, it's pretty powerful if you use it right. I take advantage.
How would you say is the way to use it right?
I like sending them to a video.
Okay.
Incorporating YouTube, that's worked really well for me. Yeah. Actually, Scott did something pretty extensive on it that was like, I was like, wait a minute, is he watching what I'm doing? Like, he obviously wasn't, but like, it was really on point. I believe he did a YouTube video on it.
Well, the nice thing about that is, like, when you do it with a YouTube video, is you're essentially pixeling them on YouTube.
Absolutely.
So you know that if they've watched a certain percentage or whatever, that, you know, it's really basically just a YouTube video embedded on Amazon. And Amazon knows.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, two other tools that I use a lot for building an audience early on is, you know, creating a Facebook page and a group. I think a page without a group is kind of like a picnic with no sandwiches. So like in the group, you know, I use a tool like BuzzSumo to find relevant articles. And then I bring in a tool called Pixel Me, because you can't retarget your Facebook group people. But if I use a Pixel Me link on the articles that I get from BuzzSumo, and then I share that into the group, I can create custom audiences off of that link. And it also saves me from having to create, you know, awesome content or any content and then just hope it's awesome. So I can take advantage of other people's content. And then for the video side, the video equivalent that I use is a tool called VooPlayer, which will allow me to get somebody's awesome video. And like, say you put an awesome video out on the Meetup presentation you did on international, getting set up internationally and you know, rocking out internationally. And you did a video, and I'm like, you know what? I could take the time and create this crazy long video, that an amazing video that Kevin put out and that everyone's already loving, right? Or I can get that video, giving Kevin credit, use it in VooPlayer, and then I can retarget people based on watch time on your video. Interesting. Yeah, so that's VooPlayer. Okay. VO Player. So things like that. I bring in a lot of different tools to make it work. What I definitely don't do is I say, okay, I'm willing to do X amount of giveaways per day for X amount of days. and I'm going to pay people back their money back after the fact when they buy it. And I don't do that.
Yeah, that's totally against terms of service. And to your point, it's just not even a good business model.
No,
That you do all these other things, like you dig when others are zagging. Like to your point, like we get so caught up in sometimes it's like, well, I'm just going to sit behind this keyboard and look up filters on these tools, which the tools are great because they can help you validate
absolutely
products. But the problem is with these tools is that like just because maybe it looks like the numbers are good, but everyone else is looking at the same filters. Everyone else is doing the same thing. So
yeah, nobody goes in there and says, show me a product that's ranked over 1 million and has a whole bunch of reviews. You know what I mean? Like nobody does that.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
the same filters.
Exactly. Everyone's using the same filters, but when you do the little things like you talk to people, because then you're going to get all these little nuanced things that others may not catch when they're just doing the tools. The tools are great to validate, is the idea going to fly, so to speak, but you got to do more research there. So I like that strategy.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I do that, has not really much to do with private label, but in a way it does, is I take advantage of all the different things that Amazon has going on. So, if I know Amazon inside and out, from the Meetup group, from, providing consulting marketing services, from being a seller for so long, if I see opportunities to make money in wholesale, I'm going to do it. I open up traditional brick and mortar location. Well, the Meetup that you came to speak at, that's one of my dance studios. So I open up physical locations because everyone else says you shouldn't. Right. And I use the foot traffic to build lists. I use the fact that I have a location to leverage things like Groupon. I use it to really take advantage of some local SEO things that you can't do otherwise. So right. I do that. And since I have a store, it's like, wait a minute, what brands would not sell to just an Amazon seller, but they would let you sell on Amazon if you also had a storefront that was selling their stuff? And I don't even need the foot traffic at that point. I'm just using knowledge that I have on Amazon. If I have a brand, obviously I'm creating a line of stuff on Merch by Amazon. That's just a money tree. And then another one not many people talk about is Amazon self-publishing. Getting a ghostwriter, creating several ebooks for free and physical copies of books that support your brand. In the ebooks, you're allowed to put hyperlinks to send people to your YouTube channel, to send people to your physical products. Like, why would somebody not take advantage of that?
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost anything per month to be part of it. So I take advantage of everything Amazon has to offer and really bring it to bear on the launch of my brand.
Okay, well, let's dive into the ebooks.
Yeah.
So are you talking about like Kindle publishing, or more like where you send them afterwards, like, hey, a free ebook that includes?
No. I'm talking about KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, which I used to have the account under CreateSpace, and then you link Kindle Direct Publishing, but they brought it all together. Okay. I'm going to use an example from I forget the person's name, but I believe the site was K Money Mastery, and it's a great resource. But the example he gives will be perfect here. Otherwise, I'd ramble on for an hour because I geek out about this. But he says, imagine if you were selling tomato tools, right? And you wanted to sell books in the tomato industry, right? Okay. So you could go out and just learn tomatoes and write this like Stephen King sized tome of like tomatoes, right. But nobody's going to do that. Besides, I want like 10 or 15 books on tomatoes. I want to dominate everything having to do with my niche. So what I do is I create a process which looks something like this. Go to the first 2 pages of books for, let's say, homegrown tomatoes. Click on each book, look at the table of contents, which is everything that is spoke about in the book. Right. Compile that in an Excel spreadsheet, and then write 2 or 3 paragraphs on each one of them. Mind you, I would hire a ghostwriter to do that. Sure. My entire cost all in on getting that book out is about $250. That's the graphic, that's the editing, that's everything on this amazing book. So during a launch, if I'm launching tomato accessories or tomato plant accessories, you better believe I'm going to have those books. And you better believe the links in those books are going to be, linking to my ManyChat ref URL. They're going to be linking to my product. They're going to be linking to my Amazon author page, which is going to be my brand. Sure. They're going to link to everything. So yeah, there's great power in those books, especially if you creatively use them with your private label business. I'd never even thought of that. That's gold. Definitely, yeah. And the thing I like about every time I speak with you, I hear these ideas I haven't heard
elsewhere, because so much, there's almost like an echo chamber, well, in just about anything in life, but a lot of times in the selling online Amazon space, there's a little bit of an echo chamber, but you're in a different realm, so to speak, because you've got your meetup and you guys are sharing ideas. So you were able to share some different ideas here.
Oh,
Is there anything else that you think would just be great for people to know?
Oh man, I think I would hog up like all the time that you have in your entire day. Like I could geek out with you like all day on this stuff. Different things that work. I could go on and on and on doing it. I will say something that I do very effectively in email marketing. And again, I think this originated with Scott Volker, but
Okay.
I was doing a variation of it around the time that he did. But he has this knack for being able to coin terms really good, or like, he called it, I believe, a treasure hunt. Don't quote me on that. You might want to ask him, but I believe he called it a treasure hunt.
We'll go back and look.
Yeah, and what that looked like was, right now they call it search, find, buy. It's this brand new thing that people are coming out with. It's not brand new. I mean, Scott's talking about it forever, but like it's a treasure hunt. And what you do is it's a variation of, here's a picture of your product, which is going to be your main image.
Okay.
Here's this offer for a code, or we only have X amount at this price, whichever you want to do. There's a link to Amazon, not to the product. And there's the search term that if you search for it, you'll find it between page blank and page blank. There's only X amount, go. So you have to go out and search for it. There's no link that's going to take you to the product. So you're like, imagine you want to rank for the keyword, cigar box. Let's say you're selling humidors, and you're like, I want people to go to Amazon, search for cigar box, hit enter, and look through the pages. Mind you, this is what Amazon's looking for.
Right.
See a cigar box, click on it, add it to cart, check out. You're getting the juice for everything.
Yeah.
So it's like a hunt. It's like a treasure hunt. Now the term is pretty much like search, find, buy. But
gotcha.
That's something, whether it's email marketing, messenger bots, locally, anything. I do a lot of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. So basically, you're giving them the coupon. You're not creating one of these super URLs that people debate whether or not they're even worth using.
Are they working for people? Yes. Would I ever use them? Absolutely not.
Right, because it goes back to Amazon tracks something that they seem like, okay, you're manipulating a search, or you're manipulating a URL. I could see Amazon having a big problem with that. But if you say, hey, go find my product and use this promo code, like you're just sending them to the product, and then
and they may not get mine.
Step, but it's valued because if they do buy it with cigar box and they had to go all the way to page 4, Amazon's like, oh, well, someone's at least willing to go to page 4 to buy this product.
Correct.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
External traffic, which gives you the greatest amount of juice. Their search, you can stagger the search terms you want. Once you've had X amount of people execute on the actual terms, it's golden. And you know what? It's evergreen. It will work 5 years from now. And it's worked for a decade.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I like that. Well, I really enjoy the fact that you've come on here, shared a lot of value of stuff that I'm even like, okay, I got to look into how I'm going to do some of these things. My editing team is going to have a lot of work to go in and find all these tools to create links to, but I know they do a good job with that. So they're going to be working a little overtime on this episode because you provided so many great links. Now, the cool thing is you'll be hanging out at Brand Accelerator Live, which I'm sure for folks, many people listening know, but for those that don't, it's an event Scott Volker and I are working to put together. You'll be there hanging out, as well as lots of other great folks. Now, if they're not going to Brand Accelerator Live and they wanted to connect with you, what would be the best way to connect with you?
I mean, the first thing I was to say is, why are you not going to Brand Accelerator Live? But take the time to do that. It's had a huge impact on my business going to these kind of things. And it's you guys putting the event together. I've heard some background stuff, and I know it's going to be an awesome event because you know how to do that. And I know Scott, and I know a lot of the speakers. I think I know every single speaker so far that I've seen there. At some point, I've crossed their path. So, like, why are you not going would be my first thing. And second, as a matter of fact, anyone that hears this that wasn't going to go and they just say, you owe me a cup of coffee, I'll buy them a cup of coffee there or something.
There you go. There's a Starbucks on site.
Yes. Yeah. As long as it's as tall. We're not doing no
Right.
venti.
Not,
But
not, no, no,
no,
no, a frappuccino
with
with,
like 9 shots. No,
right,
no, nothing like
exactly.
that. But I'll get you a coffee. Like I definitely want to see you there. It's gonna be my last trade show of the year because my wife's giving birth in November. So I'm gonna have a blast. Like I'm gonna lay it all out myself, as I know the speakers are. If you want to get a hold of me though, outside of that, there's several different ways. If you're local, on meetup.com, South Florida FBA Amazon sellers, I have an app that has all this thing in there. You can download the Wizards of Amazon app, and there's you could text the word Amazon to 69922. You could join our Facebook group at Wizards of Amazon, or connect with me on Instagram at Wizards of Amazon.
So it's all about the Wizards of Amazon. Out
It
of
is.
curiosity, how did you come up with that name?
A really, like my best friend, Ramon, who I believe you met at the event you came to. Ramon and
Okay.
our wives are very close, and we were at their house and we were toying around names because I have the Bluebird Marketing Solutions Company,
Okay.
which is like the services side apart from my physical products. But the Meetup group is not a business in and of itself. It's free to attend. Everything's free. So I was like, I need to come up with a name that allows some humor, but is not too juvenile, but that conveys Amazon. And we were just tossing around, just brainstorming, like the good old fashioned way with some drinks. And
Right.
I'm the first one that blurted out Wizards of Amazon. And I actually didn't like it. I thought it was too juvenile, but they loved it. And when I said, look, let me see GoDaddy. GoDaddy was available. So I grabbed wizardsofamazon.com, and
Nice.
and everybody else loves it. Now I love it.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend going checking out Wizards of Amazon. And one of the things is interesting is even if you're not local, you can still get hooked up though, right?
Oh, absolutely. If you go to meetupeventrecordings.com, this year we started recording all of our events, and the video and audio has actually gotten really, really good. $10 a month gets you access to all of it, which, I mean, if you don't speak Spanish, those 4 events aren't going to do it, but that's 10 events. That's 2 advanced level events per month of sellers that are selling 100,000 or more per month.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually more than that. There's 10 beginner level events, 10 more intermediate advanced level events. So it's a total of 20 something events per month that you get to see for $10 a month. I think it's a steal.
Yeah, it's crazy. And one of the interesting things was, like you mentioned, I spoke about selling internationally at your meetup on, I think it was June 1st.
You killed it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was, I had a good time there. I actually talked to a gentleman who is from New York. And in the course of the conversation, he was referencing that. I was like, wait, time out. You saw that speech, but you live in New York. Were you like visiting Miami? Oh, no. I just was watching the recording. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's really catching out. It's expanding the reach. A lot of other people are watching. I'm getting great feedback. They get to see you on there too. And they're going to see more of you on there, because I'm going to hold you to our pre-conversation for the podcast and getting you back down there.
Yes. So we were talking offline about how I was going to go back there, because I don't really have an excuse. Like it's that far away, because I'm like an hour and a half. I just drove from Aventura yesterday, and Aventura is like, a suburb of Miami essentially. And
Right.
like an hour and a half to get home. So, and where your meetup at isn't far from Aventura. It's a little farther, but
yeah, about 35
not enough that it's
about 35 minutes from Aventura, but not an excuse.
Yeah.
You got to get back down there. Besides, my group's hounding me.
All right. Well, good. I'm looking forward to coming back and meeting up with your group, and looking forward to hopefully those who are listening meeting not just them, but them and you, all of us together, hanging out over a cup of coffee or something at Starbucks, or we've got these receptions where you can meet some of these speakers that you've probably been looking up to for a while. So definitely, if you haven't checked it out, go to brandacceleratorlive.com. And if you're interested, or excuse me, I would just say, now if you're interested, if you're in the South Florida area, you should definitely check out Wizards of Amazon. And even if you're not, I definitely would recommend you go check it out, because there's a lot of great content, and you provide value of things that I've never heard anywhere else.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Lots of good stuff. Well, Carlos, thank you again so much for coming on today and sharing your wealth of knowledge.
Oh, thank you. Anytime. It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos.